Welcome to the Encore Canada studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And welcome everybody to Behind the Magic, exploring the world of events. This is going to be so much fun and educational.
Yeah,
Educational
100%.
for sure. So in case you've ever wondered who plans conferences, concerts, festivals, brand activations, we are here to demystify that and share the information with all of you. The events industry, it blends creativity, business strategy, logistics, storytelling, and all to align those moments that people will never forget. I have the pleasure of chatting with these three Canadian industry event professionals, and they're really going to share what is it like to work behind the scenes. So stay tuned for that. Who am I talking about? I am talking about Harpreet, Samantha, and Carly. Okay, so we're really going to dive into this, but before we get started, I wanted to mention a little bit about the impact events have. So I have a few things to share here referencing Meetings Mean Business Canada. So, are you ready? The Canadian business events industry accounts for 40% of all tourism spending. That's incredible, right? 47 billion in direct economic impact in Canada. Massive, right? It creates 242,000 direct jobs in this country. And that's of the 10.9 million direct jobs generated globally.
Incredible.
So we should all be proud to be part of this industry.
Industry is incredible.
Yes, yay. So we're going to get started and talk to our wonderful ladies here. So let's start with, let's see who wants to jump in with this one. What are the biggest misconceptions of the events industry?
There's so many.
I know. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I can start. I think one of the major misconceptions about our industry is that we're party planners.
Yeah.
100%.
And while I'll recognize that there are social events, planning birthday parties and weddings and like those types of things, we are talking about business events, corporate events, and they have strategy behind them. So there may be a party element or fun for sure, but I think the fact that we're strategic planners, not party planners.
Yeah.
100%.
And I'll capitalize by saying that I think people think events are easy, which they can be, 4 walls, food and beverage, but really when you hone in on the career, it's the experience design about what you're creating for the event. So although it's easy, it's very rewarding and fun. So there's a duality there.
Yeah, and just jumping into that, I think the other thing is the misconception of low pay. There's different type of events that have different levels of intricacy, which means more elements and strategic elements that apply. So I think it's just being more aware that there are different areas that you can work in within events.
Yeah. And year after year, unfortunately, there's a stat that always comes out that event planners have top 10 most stressful jobs in the world. And although it can be true with the deliverables that we have, it is such a fulfilling career. So although we get that title over and over again, we'll dive into today as to why it's so fulfilling and so rewarding.
It is. I'm going to add to what all of you just said, but also the undervalue of the skills and training that it takes to be in the events industry, right? We'll talk about how some of us came to be in the events industry, but there's really a lot of skills and things that people can learn from it and bring to it to make it a success. So on that note, what do you wish you knew about the industry when you were younger?
I wish I knew it existed. I feel like it was not ever presented as a viable option as a career choice, and I think for me personally, I think I almost fell into it and then just kind of discovered the beauty of it.
Yeah, I think for me, again, I've gone to lots of parties. I planned things in high school and in university, and we've all gone to, organized events. But I think being on this side of it, it's the impact that it can have on communities and on society and on the world. If you think of some of the world-class events, that are household names, think the Super Bowl. It's really unbelievable that event professionals like ourselves and our colleagues and our peers in this industry come together to plan those and the impact and the lasting memories. So, when you're younger, you might not know that you can contribute to those big moments, those big societal shifts. So I think, as I've grown up in this industry, it's definitely how much impact we can have.
And I think the misconception that it's not a lucrative industry, like hospitality often gets a rap that, food and beverage and servers don't really make the highest paying wage, but I think we've all been a testament to our own careers that you can have a very lucrative career in this amazing industry.
You can. So on that note, let's talk about the career path. So how did you each get where you are today? So who wants to share those goods?
Okay.
Carly,
Yeah, Carly,
Harpreet?
go.
Sure. Well, a few of my fellow panelists today have already discussed falling into their role into this industry, and I'm no different. I went to university, I went to Western here in Ontario, and I changed my major a few times. I studied the LSAT. I was gonna, potentially be a lawyer. And then I was like, I'm too much of a people person. I'd rather be out there socializing, creating, instead of reading and drafting contracts over and over again. I finished my undergrad and then moved back to Toronto and then moved back to London for a postgrad in business marketing. But going to school full time without my friends who had already graduated wasn't enough. So I actually got a part-time job at a boutique event management firm just to fill, my time while I was in full-time school.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the meticulous details like name badge alphabetizing and stuffing and lanyard stuffing. The little details, like when you think of these big festivals or these amazing experiences that we create, you forget all of the little details that really come together to make the experience what it is. And I fell in love with it. So finished my program, and yes, events are very much part of the marketing mix. So I feel like my postgrad wasn't for nothing, but I feel like I found my dream career. It just happened to be in London, Ontario, and I wanted to move home to my family. So I moved home. I continued to work in the industry, and then fast forward 4 years later, I started an event management agency. I've since exited that agency, and now I kind of play a few different roles within the industry, but I'm never leaving because my heart and passion and skills really are here in this industry. So I currently run an event consultancy company where we provide consulting services and planning services for clients all over the world. And I also just invested and I'm supporting an event technology company scale their business. So there's really diverse roles and lots of opportunity that you can create without, necessarily a traditional linear path. What about you?
I'll go next. I actually had the privilege of kind of recognizing at an early age that I want to be in events. I was in high school and I was on the prom committee. I went to an art school and I was a dancer, so I was always organizing rehearsals and talent shows. And it was a career day where George Brown, Baloo Takur, came and gave a little seminar on event planning. And I was like, what is this majestic industry that I have no idea about? And immediately decided that I would apply to George Brown. And in fact, I had several scholarships to university, and my parents were not happy that I decided to do college instead of university. But never looked back, went right to George Brown, did the 2-year diploma program, but then also bridged and did the degree program for business events. So I have my bachelor's degree in hospitality operations management, which I recommend because it allowed me to touch all different avenues of hospitality. I learned restaurants, I learned hotels, I learned events, and that's where I really started to hone in and be like, okay, events is where I want to be. And then hopped around to different agencies, and 3 years ago launched my own consultancy as well, more specifically on creative design in the corporate space. And as we'll all talk about today, the career path is now taking me in a different branch, and I now might become a tech founder. So just very grateful for all the doors that open up and this amazing industry that just pours back to us 10x.
Yeah, once you're in, you never want to leave, right?
Yeah.
It does get a hold of you. There's a love there.
For sure.
Passion. Yeah.
I started washing dishes actually too. So I should probably, and I also just recently found out my grandmother was a banquet server. So I feel like hospitality runs
in your
my,
blood.
yeah, it really does.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it feels very authentic to me.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's amazing.
Love that.
So for me, initially I had thought that I would end up a pharmacist. So I studied all the sciences, maths, calculus, biology, chemistry, you name it. And while I was working part-time, I did a couple of promo jobs. So if you're not familiar with them, it's where you're advertising a product or whatnot, and you're like, hey, you should try this, or hey, have you checked this out? And what I realized was one of my strengths was speaking to people, and also I really enjoyed the marketing side of things, and I loved how the brand execution went to play. So eventually I had a change in heart and ended up going to George Brown as well. So I studied in the special event management program, and then from there I ended up initially thinking I would end up in the festivals and nightlife sector, but then I had an amazing class with Sandy Byback. So shout out to Sandy. Yeah, so she taught meetings and conferences at 8 a.m. I'm not a morning person. I mean, I'll do it for work, of course, but on a day-to-day, that's not kind of my ideal time to, be up and alive or social. But anyways, so essentially that class moved me so much that she essentially pivoted my entire career to meetings and conferences.
Yeah.
So for a good chunk of my career, I was producing conferences for C-suite executives from Fortune 500 companies in the US. So different types of industries that we touched on was like manufacturing, biomanufacturing, HR, and it was such a fulfilling type of role because not only did I focus on the end-to-end management, I was surrounded by leaders of our industry from, working with the CHRO from Atlanta Hawks at our HR summit, or working with the VP of Coca-Cola North America because I was managing him as a speaker. So that part was really great. And then I realized that I wanted to actually get a scope of different parts of the industry. So I decided to work for a tech company for a bit on their marketing team, leading their initiatives, business initiatives. So the trade show activations, the user conferences. And then as of late, I've joined an agency type of business. So I'm currently at JPDL, where we primarily focus on the DMC and then also on the planning end-to-end management side. And then in addition to that, I'm also a huge student advocate. So I've been on the program advisory committee at George Brown College. In addition to that, also mentoring students to kind of show them what the industry is about.
Yeah.
Now, if I may,
yes.
you want to hear mine, but first I want to say DMC.
Yes,
We know this industry is acronym soup. We apologize for that. It takes a while to get in. What is a DMC?
So a DMC is a destination management company. So their primary focus, they are considered the expert in the local destination that you're looking to get those services. I think the term DMC has evolved a lot after the pandemic. I think it's become a more evolved role. Not only are we servicing things like tours, transportation, and those traditional types of services, but we're also doing the end-to-end planning side of things as well. So we're kind of a hybrid now, and I love that evolution because I feel like I can utilize what I've done in the past as an in-house planner and actually execute it on with different stakeholders globally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Thank you. I was going to ask that exact same question just for our early learners who want to get in on the alphabet soup. But Krista, moderator extraordinaire, I would love to ask you how you got to where you are at the beautiful Encore Canada studio, because you've been a pivotal person in my career, and I've kind of seen you through a few of your different previous roles. So why don't you share with our audience today
And
how you
she's
got
saying
here?
that because I am the oldest of the group.
No,
that is why she's
not
saying
true.
that.
No.
But I own it. I own
And
it.
the
I've
coolest
lived
of the
it.
group.
That's true.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, that's true. So I joined the industry 27 years ago. Actually, back then, didn't know it existed. People knew there were hotels, people knew there was Super Bowl and that, but who did it, who thought of it, nobody knew.
Yeah.
So I actually had graduated. I'm a very proud Newfoundlander. Live here right now in Ontario, but I graduated from university and I had degrees in English, sociology, criminology, because I too wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't know that about you. Now we have that in common too. But really, when I graduated, I wanted to see the world. I wanted to travel.
Yeah.
And that is one perk of this industry if you have that certain role. So I moved away and went to South Korea, where I joined the American Red Cross. And that's when I started to actually plan a little for the US and Canadians overseas in Germany. I went in South Korea, then to Germany, and that's when I became an event manager for the US Air Force over there and actually brought in the USO.
cool.
You guys didn't know this about me, did you?
wow.
I would
That's
bring in the USO for all of the troops that are there. And I did that for several years and then moved to Los Angeles. And so in LA is when I really dug into the event side because I worked for a corporate 100. And they had 8 giant incentives that went all over the world. And so you would plan and reward those in each division for producing, right? For producing for the company. They would have tiers that you would have to meet. And then an incentive, a program would be in place and they would get to then attend if they made those levels. And so I planned all of those all around the world for about 5 years. And then my heart brought me back to Canada and to Newfoundland. So at the time, I say I joined the dark side because I joined the supplier side. So supplier side meaning I joined hotels. So I was with Fairmont Hotels. Drank the Kool-Aid, loved that company, and did group sales. And I think we met when I was with Fairmont, but then I joined the DMO. So DMC, Destination Management Company, DMO, Destination Marketing Organization. So what is that? As an example, Destination Toronto. Right? They are here to market everything in their destination globally for people to bring their meetings, their conferences, and events for the economic impact of their partners and members in the city. And once people do, a lot of times then they're working directly with the DMC. So we see how that goes. I was the director of sales for Destination St. John's for a long time, and we met there too when I was the DMO. And then about 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to join the Encore Canada. Encore Canada is the largest global event production company. So whether you are working as a tech, working in design, working in business development, there's so many different avenues you can take that people just don't know about, right? It's insane how much there is you can do here. And I have found my love for producing events with this incredible team here in Ontario. I'm a mainlander.
Hey,
Yeah,
I love that.
But if I were to add to that, the biggest climb of my career, and I know we're going to dive deeper into this, is the fact that I volunteered. I volunteered heavily with industry associations, and that is how I got to be where I am today. Meeting all of you and getting to know you. Sam and I were on a board together. The PCMA board, right?
I didn't know that.
We were a few years back. So there's several associations we can talk about, I think, in the next steps, but really get ready because we're going to talk about volunteerism.
But wait, before we go there,
Yes,
I just had an idea.
Yeah.
Because we've all talked about our own career path and we all touched upon like how it can go in different avenues.
Yes.
Maybe we just spend like quick spitfire conversation of like, let's just like list possible jobs that are in the career, like whether it's a hotelier, whether it's a food and beverage, whether it is an AV producer, just like quick fire of like, give the student some examples of how you can actually have a career, like what's the career title in the event industry.
Okay.
So we talked about event planner. Event planner.
Yeah.
We talked about a hotel. So at that point, you can be the catering sales manager, which you're actually selling the space, but then you can be a catering manager, where you're actually operating the events in the venue itself. Audio visual.
Yeah, so audio visual. So every time you step foot in a convention center or a hotel, theater, the like, you will see these screens, projectors, lighting, what have you. Well, guess what? Somebody owns those and somebody operates those. And so every venue will have an in-house provider of at least the basic audiovisual, from a small board meeting to doing large conventions of 5,000 people, right? So Encore is in-house in a majority of those venues from the audiovisual perspective. So you can be a technician, you can be frontline, talking to a client who comes into the building to see what their needs are, what their goals are. There's a lot of different roles. You can be sales, but then you can also go into the production side of it. You can be a show caller, producer. You picture things like things we've supported, like the Emmys. You can go grand and you can work your way up to being the producer of that show, to show calling, to creating the theme with your client, right? Doing all this creative. Our beautiful team created this landscape of downtown Toronto with a little bit of motion for fun, because who wants static, right?
100%.
So there's so many things that you can do. We have a team in the audience doing videography, right? So just think of it, So just think of anything that you can either start with or grow to. It's endless. It really is endless.
Yeah.
I don't lead with traditional usually, but since a majority of you may not know that this industry even existed, similar to us 10, 15 years ago, I think that you can think of your traditional jobs. Like, we need finance and accountants. We do a lot of budget scenario planning and reconciliation and revenue in and revenue out and cost containment and expense reports and things like that. So you can also apply some traditional linear career paths into our industry. Lawyers, how many contracts do you review a day?
Oh my goodness,
hundreds of
so many.
contracts. So lawyers, HR. Some of us work for really large organizations with the HR departments or a head of HR. So, even though this is a fun and, sometimes glamorous industry, there still are we all need those jobs, right? So just wanted to point that out.
100%.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to remember is just because you choose to start at one doesn't mean that you are placated at that one.
Right.
If anything, a lot of the job opportunities, they have a lot of transferable skills and also a lot of room for growth. I mean, you could start off as a planner and then fall in love with actually managing a venue and then work with planners. And because you were a planner, you know what the questions that they're looking for, the valuable, elements that will sell to a client. So I think it's also keeping that in mind. And I think it's important to try whatever appeals to you, because you won't know until you try. I mean, And like I said, I thought I was going to do festivals, and I ended up in meetings and conferences, like night and day on that one.
Yeah, no, great points. Absolutely.
So on that note, what is the coolest event you've ever been a part of? I know there's a lot, but what do you think
I'll go
of?
first.
Yeah.
So graciously, when you have friends that mention your name in a room full of opportunities, someone put my name forward to be a contractor for Web Summit, which in Toronto is known as Collision. Now, Web Summit is where Airbnb, Uber all got their tech founding and funds for investors and venture capitalists. And I got to produce some of the most incredible events with them in Toronto. And then if you do a great enough job, they want to take you globally. And so they took me to Qatar, and I was doing amazing events for the Prince, and like truly spectacular. And my mentor always says, if you always want a seat at the table, and maybe there's not a chair for you, you serve water. And I was in rooms with the most amazing people that were so inspiring. And I just sat back and was able to really take in that I've created this platform where people are getting together and doing business, and that's what events is about.
That was
I love that.
amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
That is amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. And I also just want to say that's an amazing story and such a well-known brand. And the one I'm about to mention is also. So I'm not a sports girl, but I think one of the coolest events I worked on was the NBA Canada Partner Summit. I think it was actually their inaugural one here because everyone knows the franchise and it's very heavily based in the US. And it wasn't necessarily that it was the NBA brand that inspired me, but I think it's because I worked with the subset of the leadership that was involved in planning and getting that inaugural event off the ground from really early on in my career when I was practically serving that water. And then fast forward as their brand was evolving and they were having more of an impact here in Canada, just those relationships helped me kind of have a platform from which they thought of me, or that I could be like, hey, can I throw my hat in the ring to do this obviously really big, important job for these really big stakeholders. And it was the relationship piece for me, not as much as it was the cool NBA brand, which many of you, it is cool and I am grateful for that opportunity. But for me, it was the building block of how I got there and the people that were involved. And to your point, I think it's really the relationships and the transferable skills. Like I proved myself in one area of my career, and then later on it served as now the coolest event.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always have to be such a big household name, similar to the ones that we mentioned. Another one that's a very close runner-up is a virtual event for female or female identifying entrepreneurs. And as I mentioned, I'm the event entrepreneur on the panel now. I really love supporting students, next generation, or those who kind of want to follow on a footpath or on a path that I have something of value to offer. And so planned a virtual event for this, I don't know, I think it was 5,000 or 10,000 participants, supporting, female entrepreneurs in all walks of life and all different industries, and that was really inspiring because it was a subset of the population that I could relate to, and being able to be the one to kind of give them access to those resources, that networking, that was really, really amazing as well.
I love that.
Love that. NBA, so cool.
Yeah. I think for me, because I think my career has been primarily like very corporately based, so doing a lot of just like I said, meetings and conferences, more strategic planning on the business side. For me, the coolest event I worked on was Dîner en Blanc. So if you're not aware of Dîner en Blanc, it is an event that originated in Paris, and there's chapters all over the world. And the intention of this event is to bring together the community. And what I loved about it is because I work such heavily in the corporate sector, I don't get to get as creative as I'd like to until now. But it was great just being able to work with different people from different industries, bringing the community together. And I think because of just the impact that it had from a local level, I think that's what I loved about it the most.
It was such a hot ticket item.
I know.
Like you have to wait in line to get it, and to be part of it probably was so impressive.
Yeah, and it was cool. I mean, the element that I kind of like the most is just that it happened all over the world, and the whole intention was to bring the community together. So, and then on the flip side, one of the conferences that I worked on, which was the Biomanufacturing World Summit, that one was really special because it had all the world leaders from pharmaceutical companies coming together to not only share information about their the projects they were working on, but it was an education forum with a trade show element with other Fortune 500 companies, but it was just such a great way to meet these individuals in, from all over the world that could inspire you and actually teach you something that you wouldn't normally have access to.
Yeah, and unfortunately we had a fourth person with us today, but due to Canadian weather was not able to make it. So we'll just speak on her behalf. Her name is Sasha. She works with Live Nation, and some of the most incredible brands, TikTok, Shopify, Spotify, YouTube. Like she is on the venue side of things, so she is using her Live Nation venues to host these incredible events and working with some of the best companies in the world. They have the creative space, they have the budgets to have fun, and unfortunately she couldn't join us today, but that is just to give you an example of the kind of brands you interact with in this industry.
Yeah.
And might I interject? That is great, and we're missing Sasha for sure. But we're sitting here in the Encore Canada studio right now. You guys must produce some of the world's best, biggest events. Can you please choose? Can you choose just one?
Right? Take a look at this.
Yes, it's amazing. The top brands, we do get to work with all the top financial, the brands, all the brands you just said we get to. But honestly, the ones I want to talk about are the ones that get to be extra creative. Right?
Yeah.
We love that, and it's something you guys have all touched on, the creativity. And so I won't name, this is a top financial company here in Canada, and here was the challenge. They had about 800 people going to Whistler. And it was last year, and year before, and the gondolas were broken down.
Oh, no
but
way.
one of the things they wanted to do was have that experience.
Oh.
And so they came to us and said, they have this large convention, but how can we create a gondola experience on the ground? And that's where our team gets to get together, innovate, and create. So just think about how much fun this can be and a challenge it can be. And they actually built a room that immerses you, surrounded through video, below you, around you, above you, with motion, so that you feel like you were going up the gondola of Whistler.
Yeah.
And to personalize it, they then had RFID. So if you tap an RFID, it would welcome you into the space, use your name in a pre-created video, right, to make you feel welcome and tell you the story of space. So those types of things, I get shivers.
Absolutely.
I love the big brand
was
stuff, but it was
epic.
incredible.
It was amazing.
Yeah, see?
It
has
took my
legs.
breath away. I thought the level of creativity that went into that, but also just taking into consideration what the client's needs were and how you guys were able to accommodate that and bring it to life, and it felt real. Oh, it was amazing.
And then we got to use that, and we turned it into a time machine, an events time machine, to bring to industry to show how you can immerse yourself in an experience. So that's one of my favorite, most of the recents, because of the creativity around it. I also love supporting the big Canadian. So most recently, we supported like the Canada Walk of Fame at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. So being involved with all of those top people who really give back to the country is massive to us. So we do sponsor a lot to leave the impact of our events and support the events. So it's a lot of fun.
This is what it's about. Like, you get to create these once-in-a-lifetime experiences with collaborators. Like, for example, we knew we wanted to do this for the students, and then Carly made one call to a collaborator, and up came this huge thing, because it's all about partnerships and collaboration and going outside the box with partners you trust. So this is all what it's all about.
It is.
Yeah.
It's heavily relationship-based. It becomes a family, it really does. So, we're going to get all emotional. Of all of the benefits of this industry, and there are many, choose one. Can you choose one? What is the biggest benefit, you think?
For me, I want to say it's sense of community. I think not only do we have, like right now sitting at this table, we have 4 women that have come from different sectors. We touch on different things, but at the end of the day, we have a forum that we can, get together and collaborate on. We have a forum of exchange, of dialogue. I think the growth that we enable each other or instill in each other. And I think the events industry is unlike most other industries, where we actually want to be there and we want to inspire and educate and just uplift each other. So I think that's a big one for me. And the friendships. Can't forget those industry relationships turning into
more than
friendships.
one.
I'm sorry. You know what? I was on a roll.
It really is that good, this industry.
It's really that good. I'm getting very passionate.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
100%.
I'm done.
No, it's
That's
great.
friendship's great. I was gonna say the friendships. I mean, it's not often. I mean, these 2 ladies were at my wedding.
Correct.
And we met
I
through the
wasn't
industry.
invited. Apparently, I didn't know we're old enough then.
No, you were. That's so You weren't able
There was
to
a
make
wait list.
it.
Don't
There
worry. There was a wait list.
I didn't make the cut.
Can you
No,
imagine
we're
an
good.
Indian wedding
We're
with
good.
like a wedding plan, like an event planner? Like it was.
Yeah, I'm not a wedding
the
planner.
charts.
That was the first and last time I'll ever do one. And I also had the support of my sister-in-law, so shout out to her. Yeah, just closing it off, I think what's beautiful is we meet in the industry, but then we walk away as friends. I mean, after this, we're probably gonna go and talk more about what's going on in our lives, and we care. And I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, and
Yes, and
a mentor of mine once told me there's 3 pillars to happiness. Number 1, materialistic things. We all know the cars, the travel, the trips, experiences, milestones like your wedding, anniversaries, all the things. The third thing of happiness is when you serve others. And I believe that this industry, hospitality as a whole, and events specifically, when you give back to somebody and you see their response to happiness, or they're moved to tears because of the speaker you chose, or they walked away feeling so impacted, or whatever that feeling is that you're designing at the event, that feels, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, but like that is the most rewarding thing, and that is the true epitome of happiness for me.
Yeah.
So this industry for me is straight happiness.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy I get to go third because yes, and
Love it.
I love the foundational and transferable skills that you can cultivate in this industry. You come in, we all came from very different places to get to where we are, but it's, emotional intelligence, the relationships, you need to be able to speak to people, you need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to do some of those other skills like writing, reviewing, contracts, all of those types of things. But I think that you can start somewhere in this industry or outside and come in, but you can transfer so much of what is learned in this industry to a different aspect of it, like maybe unlike some other industries. And I think that that's so key.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
agreed.
I agree. You guys have covered it all, honestly.
Now,
I
what's
was
yours,
at-
though?
Well, I was between relationships and experiences but you guys have really said it so well. It's so true. Like, we know anybody in this industry understands us, and they're there for us, and we're there to support each other and to give back. And the experiences we've had, like, would never have. Yes, there's travel and there's wonderful events and there's all of that is there. We work very hard for it. But some of the experience, do you ever have those moments where you just stop and go, I can't believe I'm here?
Yes, all the time.
Right here, right now.
I was just going to say right here, right now.
And because of the events industry,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
100%.
It's very, very worthwhile. Gives back in spades in that way. So well said.
agreed.
Now, what does the future of events look like? If you were to look into your crystal ball, what do you guys think the future looks like?
So for me, I predict that we'll have more events that are less talking to you and more interactive.
Yes.
I think what we're really craving right now is just that human connection, really looking to be involved. I know I've said community multiple times, but I think we want that more than ever right now. I also think that the new generation coming in, they're helping push that agenda forward, where they want to be collaborators and they don't want to necessarily be an audience. So I think just having more of that element that's one aspect I think that will push the needle forward in the future.
100% agree.
Well, go ahead.
I think that events are going to increase in number, and I also think that they're going to be the only real way that we build connection and authenticity and trust in a business context because of all of the AI automation, which can also be good, which I will mention in one moment. But I just think that connecting in person like we are today, handshaking, the hugs, the clinking of glasses and celebration, I think that that's going to be done in face-to-face live events in increasing numbers as we progress. Because there's deep fakes and there's all of these other things. You don't know if you're really talking to a human or is it just an automated email. And so I think that there's a healthy future for events. I also think that AI will play a role in the positive in that it will take over the automation of some of the monotonous tasks or the things that humans don't necessarily need to do, which will allow them more capacity to be creative, be strategic, get together in person and really disconnect and not be like monitoring their phones like crazy. more of those meaningful connection points. So I think AI and an increase in credibility for the events industry as a whole.
Yeah. And you mentioned collaboration, but like with the audience collaborating. But I think as a whole, we talk about partnerships, but I think companies who once competed are now collaborating to win business together.
Yeah.
And there's more transparency in the industry. There's more forthcoming about information and pricing models. I think we're trying to pull back the curtain as much as possible and just be really authentic. And I'm really, really excited to see where the industry goes.
I love that.
I agree. Mine was going to be engagement. I need to stop sitting next to you because it's
Are you
the same.
really
I tell you. It's really true. And in the production side of things, what we're seeing and all of our clients are telling us is how can you engage that audience more? People don't want a speaking head to talk at, like, make something meaningful. And so we use a lot of innovations and gamifications and ways to actually pull people in and participate versus just sitting there passively, right? So that is going to continue. It's now wanted, it's going to be demanded as it keeps growing. So just think about that, different ways you can create and engage. I think that's the future. And we're coming towards the end. I know. But for any students that are watching, if they wanted to get started in the events industry tomorrow, or at least learn about it, what are your tips for them to get started?
I'll start by saying that, when I was applying to post-secondary or considering what my career path might look like 25 years ago, I didn't have a tool like my Blueprint to go and do assessments and check out all of the different college and university or even trades programs that were available. So if anything that we said is of interest to you, I would highly recommend signing into your My Blueprint account and going and perusing some of the options available to you at the Ontario or anywhere around our great country post-secondary programs, so that you can learn a little bit more about what we might have discussed now that you are made aware that this industry, this beautiful, amazing industry exists, and that there's lots of lucrative career paths that you can follow within it. And there's so many more ways that you can get involved. And I'll put my hand up and say, happy for anyone watching this. If you want to reach out to me by email or on any of the socials, I'd be happy to provide guidance or a virtual coffee chat, or if you want to volunteer and shadow me for a day in the life. I have had and continue to have so many incredible mentors within this industry who took a chance on me, who continue to invest time and resources in me. And so I would like to put my hand up and pay that forward to anyone who I may have sparked interest to.
Second that.
And third that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, yes.
If anything resonated, as you said, with you, get curious. Plunk into ChatGPT, ask it all the questions you want. What kind of career can it come out from hotelier or whatever that looks like? And then my biggest thing that I always tell my co-op students and my interns is to subscribe to all of our newsletters, like for BizBash, Ignite Magazine, all of our major publications. Read the newsletters, get curious on what is that? How did that happen? Where did this go? And just read and research. And eventually you'll find your purpose and passion, but don't be so quick to get to the finish line. The journey is the most beautiful path.
I love that.
Yeah, yes, and it's funny because even right now we're not at the finish line, right?
No.
Like we're still moving onwards and forward. Jumping off of that, I think something that I found really valuable was joining an industry association as a student.
I'm not sitting next to you anymore.
Well,
Anyway, go.
like apparently.
Yes.
Well, I joined MPI as a student, and that was such a great foundation to jump off of. Not only did I have access to industry leaders, resources, courses, but when I first joined joined the industry, I was primarily working in the U.S. And so if it wasn't for MPI, the Toronto chapter, for instance, I wouldn't have had those Canadian connections. And then returning, I already had such a great ecosystem of event professionals that I could lean on when working on projects and so forth. And also, I mean, if you have questions, you can ask them right there, right? Like everyone is easily accessible. There are social events where you can see different parts and different elements of different event-related, career options. So I'm a huge advocate for that.
Let's just go
100%.
through alphabet soup.
I was just about to say that
yeah.
MPI is Meeting Professionals International. So the one that I will mention to tag on that is PCMA. So Professional Convention Management Association. Those two are the large global umbrellas of the events and meetings industry. So looking up any of those, you're going to get the information you want. So just like Harpreet with PCMA, and I'm involved with MPI as well, PCMA, I volunteered. I joined a board 7 years ago, but had volunteered for years before that. And it brought my path forward, forward, upward, upward, and kept moving, ended up being a president of one of the chapters here in Canada, right?
Love
So
that.
yeah, but it's really volunteer. Find what association speaks to you, ask the questions, contact them. You can contact us, but you have to get involved. You have to join a committee. It's really that easy. If you like marketing, join a marketing committee. If you like membership, join membership. Whatever, you have to start by getting involved, and it'll be amazed what will happen after that.
If you have an interest in entrepreneurship in the event industry, there's also a third association called CANSPEP, which is Canadian Society of Special Event Professionals. I should know this. I'm also on the board for that one. But we are always looking for students to come and shadow and volunteer at our events, and you get to not only learn about the events, but the business side of it too. So there's some really great associations just to get your hands dirty and get in there.
Yeah, and I'm a member of most of what was mentioned, and there's still so many others like SITE, which is for the Society of Incentive Travel Events, I believe. So again, acronym soup, there's so many different opportunities, but I think the thing I would say about the memberships in these associations is really like you get out what you put in, so you can just pay your membership due and just one more thing checked off your list. But if you show up to the events, if you volunteer, you really build that professional network. And you get access to incredible resources and events and community. So I highly recommend everything that you all said.
And yes, and just highlighting the membership rate for students is substantially subsidized, so take advantage of it.
Yes.
That's
not
why the
free. It's
scholarships
not-
are
it's
there.
not free,
Their
but-
scholarships are
Yeah.
available.
No,
Yes.
but I think some of them are free or work. Okay, but
I think it's like case by case, but yeah. I mean, shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot, and we'll end on that point. I would like to thank our marvelous panel. You guys are amazing, true industry leaders, and we love you, and we hope that this was very helpful to you. But also, we talked about behind the scenes, so let's give it up for the Encore Canada Rock Stars. Operating everything here. You guys are amazing, and we can't do what we do without you doing what you do. It's all a big family. So if we have piqued your interest, and you can think of the next big event, it may change somebody's life. So please consider, it could be yours to create. So cheers, everybody. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yay!